Hello, I'm David Brody, and welcome to this teaching on 7 secular Western cults, or pseudo-cults. I think you'll find this time quite interesting, so enjoy. Okay, Western secular cults. First of all, let's define what a secular cult is. So secular cults are cults that are not based on religions. Here are some possible aspects of them. And the ones we'll be covering may have 1 or 2 of these aspects or more. And some of the things we're covering would be cults, or we could call them pseudo-cults if they just have a little bit of these aspects. But they all have some degree of these aspects. So you could have a charismatic leader, undue influence over members, high levels of control over behaviors and emotions, manipulative tactics for recruitment and retention, strange beliefs or rituals, subtle deception, veneration of a person, thing, or the group itself even. Certain beliefs only revealed to those on the outside. So when you first encounter the cult, it seems very normal. Okay, number 1, the Church of Scientology. And the Church of Scientology was started by L. Ron Hubbard, who was a science fiction writer. And he wrote over 130 published fiction books. A couple interesting quotes from him. The only way to control people is to lie to them. And you don't get rich writing science fiction. If you want to get rich, you start a religion. Well, he had been writing fiction books for quite some time when he wrote this book, Dianetics, The Modern Science of Mental Health. And it was a hit. Many people purchased it, but eventually sales died down a bit. And then L. Ron Hubbard decided that really the most profitable thing would be to make a religion out of this sort of thing. And so he founded the Church of Scientology. And the Church of Scientology, now they have this story. It would not be told to people entering the church, but people who have been members for some time would get this story. And that was that about 75 million years ago, there was a galactic warlord, a person who ruled several planets named Xenu. And in spite of ruling all these planets, he had a population problem. So to take care of that, he had a bunch of people required to come to him for a tax audit. Now, L. Ron Hubbard did not like the IRS. And so these people came for the tax audit, and he tricked them. Instead, what he did is he took them and froze them, and he put them on spacecraft which were very similar to DC-8 airplanes, and flew them to Earth, where they were all dumped into volcanoes, and then they blew up the volcanoes with hydrogen bombs. So all these people were killed, but their spirits remained upon the earth and became known as body thetans. And these body thetans can cause trouble in people's lives and traumatic or painful events, which they called engrams. And so the way to get rid of these engrams is to go through auditing times. And that is, someone else will audit you, and they will use this instrument called an electropsychometer. And this thing reads emotion, especially negative emotion, as questions are asked to the person being audited. Well, I got to experience this one time because now I had heard about the Church of Scientology, so kind of knew what they were all about. And we were in Hollywood, and they have a big visitor center there. and they invite people to come and take personality tests. And so I went in there and took this test, and then they had me hold these bars of the electropsychometer. I'll call it the E-meter for short. And so I was holding these bars, and they would ask me questions about different aspects of my life, different people in my family, different people I knew. And it kind of works like a lie detector. It can kind of detect a bit of emotion. And I have to say I was impressed because they were able to zero in on some areas of negative emotion in my life. And then they would begin to ask more questions about that. And I was thinking, boy, if I were a vulnerable sort of person, really looking for answers and thinking they might have them, I could really, it's possible for someone to be sucked into this. Well, what they do is people who join this Church of Scientology, they keep doing these auditing sessions to get more and more free. And so that's their goal, to become clear, to become free from these engrams and go to higher levels. And they begin to charge money for these things, and lots of money. And there have been plenty of people who have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in these auditing sessions. And it really never ends. They go to one level and then they say, okay, we need to work on getting to another level. And there's so many engrams that can be, in your background. And then you could be going back in the previous lives to take care of engrams, or you could even have to work on the engrams of the body thetans that have attached themselves to you. You see? So it never ends, and people just keep having to go back again and again for these auditing sessions, and it just never ends. Now, they have targeted celebrities. There's a few celebrities who've been at least touched by Scientology. Now, some of them did not go deep into it. They just kind of tried it for a bit and got out. But some went deeper, such as John Travolta, and Tom Cruise especially is known for being active in the Church of Scientology.
No, it's something that has helped me incredibly in my life. Yeah. And I've been a Scientologist for over 30 years, yeah. And it's something that, as without it, I wouldn't be where I am. Yeah. So it's a beautiful religion, and I'm very proud.
In 1986, L. Ron Hubbard died, and David Miscavige took his place as the leader of the Church of Scientology. And David Miscavige has said to be a very controlling, domineering leader. And it's even been said that people have seen him beat up many other people. And there's also rumors from people who have been in the Church of Scientology and got out that in one of their compounds, there's even a couple buildings they call the Hole. And this is where executives who are in the Church of Scientology who, get out of favor, do something wrong, they'll put them in the Hole, and it's kind of like a prison, a place to punish these people. Also, David Miscavige was married to Shaklee Miscavige, but she has not been seen publicly since 2007 when she was at her father's funeral. Because she'd been so missing, they even filed a missing persons report with the LAPD, the Los Angeles Police Department. In 2013, they came and they did meet with a woman who claimed to be Shaklee Miscavige and gave fingerprints, but the fingerprints and the evidence was inconclusive, so they really don't know. And since that time, there's been no sign of her whatsoever, so rumors are going all around as to whether she's kind of being held prisoner in her compound or whether she's dead. Nobody knows. So now we'll move on to some other cults and pseudo-cults. And these next ones involve secret societies. And that brings us to number 2, the Masonic Lodge, the Freemasons. The Freemasons are like a men's fraternity type organization, like a club, but they have a lot of rituals, secret rituals, which are based on old Egyptian things and Greek things and Rosicrucianism and these sort of backgrounds. They have various levels of Freemasonry. The highest a person can go is the 33rd degree. It also depends on which Freemason rite they're in. There's a Scottish rite, there's the York rite, so there's different ways to go. But in each of these levels, they'll go up different degrees in Freemasonry. Each time they go up a level, they have to go through an initiation ritual. And in these rituals, they often call curses upon themselves if they ever give away secrets of Freemasonry. They'll say things like, if I ever give away the secrets, may my tongue be pulled out and thrown into the valley of Jehoshaphat. So really, these people are calling curses on themselves and doing these strange rituals again and again and again as members of the Freemasons.
The candidate for entered apprentice stands behind the door, waiting to be summoned. He's blindfolded, and there's a noose around his neck with a length of rope trailing behind. His chest is exposed at the left breast, and his left pant leg is rolled up. The doorkeeper taps 3 times and announces that the candidate desires to enter and obtain the privileges of Freemasonry. With that, the candidate is escorted into the lodge by the inner guard. The guard holds the tip of a dagger against the candidate's bare chest and asks if he feels anything. Next, the candidate kneels before the head of the lodge, the worshipful master, and they engage in a ritual question and answer. He's led by the rope, or cable tow, to an altar with a Bible or other holy book. Standing with his heels together to form a square, the candidate now kneels. He places his right hand on the Bible and, with his left, presses the point of a compass against his chest. He swears to forever conceal and never reveal any of the secret arts, parts, or points of the hidden mysteries of Freemasonry. If he breaks that promise, he binds himself to this oath.
Under no less a penalty than my throat be cut across, my tongue be torn out by its root, and that I be buried in sand a cable's length from shore.
The assembled brothers rise and give the sign of the entered apprentice. Right hand held palm down beneath the chin, with the elbows straight out. The master asks the candidate what he seeks. He replies, "The light."
Let the brother receive the light.
Now, the candidate is shown 3 sacred objects: the holy book, the square, and the compass. The master reminds him that he faces terrible retribution should he ever betray the organization's secrets. Next comes instruction in the secret hand sign, or grip, and the secret word, Boaz. The candidate receives his Masonic badge and the symbolic tools, a gavel and a ruler. The candidate leaves to change clothes and returns to receive the final charges. He is instructed that he must understand the importance of God, must be law-abiding, must abstain from political or religious discussion in the lodge, and must obey the master and other officers. He's again warned he must never reveal any secrets of the Brotherhood. Secrecy, if you haven't noticed, is a big deal. The new brother has entered the first grade of Freemasonry. Above it are 2 more, Fellow Craft and Master Mason. Each has its ritual, oath of secrecy, and prescribed horrible punishments.
So though the Freemasons can be doing some good things on the outside, and it's good for networking and so on, they all are involved in these strange rituals. My grandfather was a 33rd degree Mason. And this photo shows Job's daughters. That's my mother at the very head there. And Job's daughters is for daughters of Masons. And also probably some of these rituals going on. But now they're allowing, in some places, women to be involved in the Masons as well. Look at the aprons that these women are wearing. The Masons all have Masonic aprons. Doesn't that look familiar? Kind of looks like that Gmail. I don't think that's just a coincidence. Now it's stylized a little bit more so you can't tell, but the origin of it is likely Masonic. And there have been many Freemasons who have been famous that we know of. George Washington was a Freemason. In fact, he dedicated the Capitol building, I believe, in a Freemason apron. Benjamin Franklin, Andrew Jackson, Swami Vivekananda in India, Winston Churchill, Franklin D. Roosevelt. And it was under Roosevelt that they designed what is still our present $1 bill. And they were the ones that put the pyramid on the bill with that eye of the Egyptian god Horus and the words Novus Ordo Seclorum, New Secular Order. Harry S. Truman was a Mason. J. Edgar Hoover. One time I toured one of the Masonic headquarter centers in Washington, D.C., and they actually had a replica of J. Edgar Hoover's office. Walt Disney, John Wayne, Gerald Ford, Prince Philip, Colonel Sanders, Michael Richards, Simon Caldwell, Ashton Kutcher, Leonardo DiCaprio, and there's the Masonic building that I toured one time. And when we went into their ritual room, which is the main room where they do their rituals, there was a horned altar there with the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, and one or two other religious books. And there was a big window, like a stained glass type window, with a huge bronze serpent, going all around it. And I asked them, what does that serpent represent? And they said, oh, that represents wisdom. Now, Masonry is not just in America and Britain, but also places like India, because, of course, India was a British colony for quite some time. And so that influence was brought there. So you will find Masonic lodges in India. And like I said, the Masons are doing some good things on the outside, like children's hospitals and so on. But remember, it's a spiritual bondage to people who are actually in it. And there are organizations like the Lions, and these are perfectly fine. They're just networking, and they do some good works, but they often end up recruiting grounds to get people into the Masons. A friend of mine was involved in the Rotary Club, which again is perfectly innocent in itself, and a good fraternal organization trying to better the community and all. But one friend of mine had said that places like the Rotary Club are often recruiting grounds for Masons. I mentioned that to my friend who was in the Rotary Club, and he said, oh, that's nonsense. I've never seen that happen. Well, about 1 or 2 weeks later, he told me someone approached him in the Rotary Club and invited him to join the Masons. When I was in Boy Scouts, we would take a vote, and some people would be voted to go into a group called the Order of the Arrow. So it was considered an honor to be in the Order of the Arrow. And so I was in that for a little bit. I attended a few things of them. And we had a special sash, and they'd have a little bit of an initiation ceremony with a secret password. And any organization like that could also be a recruiting ground for the Masons. And I found out later on that the Order of the Arrow was actually founded by a Mason. That doesn't surprise me because, like I said, we had the secret password and some ritual stuff going on. So I'm glad not to be in that anymore. Okay, onward to number 3, the Skull and Bone Society. Now, this is a society for men in Yale University. Not anyone can join. Only the select people they decide are invited to join the Skull and Bone Society. And it's an old society, has gone on for a long time. It was started in 1832 by Yale students. And so you can see some old pictures there, and they have one particular building where they meet. They have a secret number, 322. It has been said by some former bonesmen that in these secret rituals they have, some of them dress up as things like the Pope or Satan, and inductees, typically it is said, would lie in a coffin and talk about all the intimate details of their past. U.S. Presidents Howard Taft and George H.W. Bush were members of the Skull and Bone Society. In 2004, both candidates for president were from the Skull and Bone Society, both John Kerry of the Democratic Party and George W. Bush of the Republican Party. And so they were asked one time about their involvement in the Skull and Bone Society, and they both did their best to avoid answering the question.
You were both in Skull and Bones, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go
I'm
wild.
sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the web.
Number 322?
First of all, he's not the nominee. And, look, I look forward...
Are you prepared to lose?
No, I'm not going to lose.
You both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us?
Not much, because it's a secret.
Is there a secret handshake? Is there a secret code?
I wish there were something secret I could manifest.
322, a secret number?
There are all kinds of secrets, Tim, but one thing is not a secret. I disagree with this president's direction that he's taking the country. We can do a better job, and I intend to do it.
Number 4, the Bohemian Grove. Now, the Bohemian Grove is a thick forested area in Northern California where these prominent men come to meet and relax and have sort of secretive meetings. It's very private. Outsiders are absolutely not allowed to come in. And they, like these other groups, like to have secret ceremonies, secret dinners. We don't fully know who's a member, who's not. We know about some. It tends to be, it's all men, and it has tended to be Republicans, actually, prominent men in society, and many of them prominent Republicans. In fact, this photo here shows Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon. And so if someone's up and coming in politics, they may want to be in the Bohemian Grove. They're the Bushes giving some presentation there at the Bohemian Grove. And the centerpiece, really, of this gathering at the Bohemian Grove is a ceremony called the Cremation of Care, in which they cremate dull care before a giant owl, which some people symbolizes Molech, but we don't know for sure. But it's a very strange ceremony. And, it should not surprise us that leaders of our nation of USA, that some of them are involved in this sort of darkness. Ezekiel once had a vision of what the leaders of Israel were up to. This is in Ezekiel 8, 7 to 11. And he got this vision. He brought me to the entrance of the court. I looked and I saw a hole in the wall. He said to me, Son of man, now dig the wall. So I dug into the wall and saw a doorway there. And he said to me, Go in and see the wicked and detestable things they are doing here. So I went in and looked, and I saw portrayed all over the walls all kinds of crawling things and unclean animals and all the idols of Israel. In front of them stood 70 elders of Israel, and Jazaniah, son of Shaphan, was standing among them. Each had a censer in his hand, and a fragrant cloud of incense was rising. And he saw more things after that. But, wouldn't it be nice if we could all just have a vision of what, awful things our leaders are up to? Well, this actually was kind of provided for us at one point by Alex Jones. And this is before he was well known. This was over 20 years ago, I think. And he managed to sneak in to the Bohemian Grove and film this secret ceremony, the cremation of care. Now, the camera he had was a very small, hidden, camera, the type of camera you'd hide somewhere in your clothing, and so it wasn't a very good quality at all. But still, we can look and see and listen and get a little bit of idea of what's going on behind the scenes. So I'll give you a look at that.
The malevolence which would pursue us here has lost its power under these friendly trees. So shall we burn thee once again this night, and in the flames that eat thine effigy, we shall read the sign, Midsummer sets us free. Ye shall burn me once again! Not with these flames, which hither ye have brought from regions where I reign. Ye fools and priests, I spit upon your fire. Thou, prince of all mortal wisdom, thou of Bohemia, we beseech thee, grant us thy counsel. For great owl of Bohemia, we thank thee for thy adjuration. Eternal flame. Once again, midsummer sets us free.
In San Francisco, the Bohemian Grove has their own building for their elite members to hang out in. And there you can see a plaque on that building with an owl with the saying, "Weaving spiders come not here." So some of us thought we'd try and peek inside, and we went to the front entrance, and there was a very dark little entrance, and there was a big statue of an owl there. And we asked the person at the front, "Can we look around at all?" And he said, "No," and we left. So that was our look at the Bohemian Grove. President John F. Kennedy once gave a speech in which he spoke against secret societies, and hopefully more and more people will remember his words.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
Okay, number 5, EST. And EST stands for Erhard Seminar Training. And this became popular in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and continues in another form even today. Werner Erhard started. Now, Werner Erhard was born in 1935, but he was born John Paul Rosenberg. And in 1960, he abandoned his wife and 4 children in Philadelphia and ran off with his then-girlfriend, June Bird, to St. Louis, Missouri. He then changed his name to Werner Hans Erhard, and he started EST in 1971. So Werner Erhard would run these seminars that would help people to find themselves, but these seminars were very strictly run. And they even had a list of rules people had to agree to take these seminars, such as no speaking without permission. They would have long sessions, 3 to 4 hours, and in these sessions, they would not have any bathroom breaks. And people were not allowed to leave the room at all during these sessions. And it was meant to be kind of a test of endurance. They were required total participation in the seminar. Punctuality was required. If people arrived a little bit late, they might just be locked out and not allowed in, or they might be berated by the seminar leader. And whoever the trainer was in the seminar, their word was final. So what they'd often do in these seminars is they'd get people up front and ask them about their lives and what things have gone wrong. And whatever had gone wrong in these people's lives, they would be the ones to blame. In other words, if someone says, well, my house was robbed, I locked all the doors, that's too bad. It was your fault because you were not in control. Well, I got in a car accident. The other guy crossed the red light. It doesn't matter. You were meant to be in control. And the implication is you need to be in control of your life because you are God. Now, they might not come out and say you are God, but that's the implication, that you can have complete control. And the implication that you can have complete control, that you can be God, wasn't that the first lie told in the Garden of Eden by the serpent to Eve? You can be just like God. Now, in these seminars, people try to get it. That's the goal, to get it. But what does it mean to get it? Well, it's not really defined. It's kind of seeing that you have faults and yet to still accept yourself, or it can be coming to a deeper self-realization. It can be getting in touch with some hurts, but you try to get it. For example, here's a quote from Werner Erhard. If you could really accept that you weren't okay, you could stop proving you were okay. If you could stop proving that you were okay, you could get that it was okay not to be okay. If you could get that it was okay not to be okay, you could get that you were okay the way you are. You're okay. Get it? So these seminars are very humanistic in a sense that they don't look to God. You're looking within yourself to get it. You're looking within yourself to find inner healing and whatever it is you're looking for. My father, this is a photo of myself with my father in the 90s, and he did the EST seminar and continued to be involved in meetings for EST alumni. And so one time I went to one of these meetings and people would talk about being clear and stuff like that. Then they took those of us who were new to the thing and took us aside so they could kind of introduce us to what this was all about. And I remember they we went up to a whiteboard and they were explaining some things about it. And then I went up to the whiteboard and I began sharing the gospel. And they quickly separated me from the other possible inductees. Now, Warner Erhard got complaints about the abusive style that these seminars were led in, so they did ease up a bit. They called themselves the Forum and the Landmark Forum. Erhard also had some scandals, so he eventually sold the whole thing, and now it's run by other people under the name of simply Landmark. And so these seminars do continue to this day. There was a movie back in 1977, a comedy movie called Semi-Tough. And in this movie, a couple of the characters attend something called Bismarck Energy Action Training, which was led by Friedrich Bismarck. And this actually was lampooning Est. It was poking fun at the different aspects of Est, and it did a pretty good job. So I'll show you some clips of that.
Everybody's got pillows.
Well, that's something I forgot to tell you about, but it don't matter. I'll be right here when you come out.
More nervous than me.
I'm just happy. I know what's waiting for you in there.
Your lives don't work. For the next 48 hours, you're going to come face to face with the only problem you got. Yourself. What will disappear is your belief in yourself as a problem. Being is where it's at. It's what this weekend is all about. Finding out that you're where it's at. You. Nobody else. Finding out that what you are is perfect. We gave you a list of rules when we took your money this morning. Any questions? Mary Ray. Wait for the microphone.
Why can't we go to the bathroom if we have to?
Because you can't.
Well, why can't we?
Because it's a rule. Why is it a rule? Because it works.
Why can't we talk to our friends while we're here?
Any more questions? What I want from you today are your souls. Soles of your feet. You can be wide awake or fast asleep. If you stay in this room, you're going to get the training. You're going to get it.
What's it?
That's what you get.
How will I know when I've gotten it?
You'll know.
Suppose I know that I haven't.
That's how you know you have. Now you're going to meet someone here for the very first time. Someone you've never met before. Yourself. But before we do that, I want you to meet the other people here. Really meet them. Not the way you meet people on the outside, which is like this. Tom.
Fred.
How you doing?
Fine. How's your wife and kids?
They're fine. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Ciao. Now let's see what happens when two people really meet. Tom.
Fred.
You see? Tom is now meeting a person. Get it? Now, what I want you all to do is to get up, walk around, meet everyone else. Don't say anything. Just meet them and experience them as a person.
No talking! You'll follow the rules and no smiling. No talking. Experience the person, meet them.
Don't say a word. Just experience me.
Are you getting it?
He had no right firing me. I was doing my job.
You wanted to lose the job. If it happened, you chose it.
When are we gonna get a break?
When you get it.
You're a fascist. That's what you are, a fascist. Your name isn't even Friedrich, it's Irving.
Thank you. I acknowledge that. Rose.
I want to share something. I just peed in my pants, and it feels good. It does.
Now we're going to do something else. Just relax. Close your eyes. Keep them closed. And just relax. Terrific. I want you to think of the very first time you were ever happy. Very first time. Now think of the very first time you ever had ice cream. Terrific. Experience it. Stay in your space. Go with it. Just let it go. That's it. Let it go. Go with it. Experience it.
Hey, my mother.
I hate my father.
Don't worry about it. Sometimes it takes a while to understand what you got.
You got it. Yes, I did. I got it. You get it, BJ? No. Well, you were there, where it's at. So if you didn't get it, you got it.
Number 6, multi-level marketing. And believe it or not, this can be cult-like. The best known example of multi-level marketing is Amway. Now, the way this works in theory is there's products being sold, of course. And so what you do is you're trying to sell some of the product, but then you recruit other people into the organization who are also selling products, but they give a little bit of the percentage of the profit from their sale of the product to you. So you're really getting a little extra income beyond the income you're getting from selling the product. And then they recruit others, and a small percentage of what the others are selling, the profit, that also goes to you. And those people recruit more, and so you keep getting more and more profit from people who are recruited by you and recruited by those who you recruited and so on. And so you end up being on top of this big group of people, and the money is just pouring in, and you can quit your job and live a great life of luxury. Now, in multi-level marketing, they have a term upline and downline. Your upline is the person who recruited you and anyone above them. Your downline is anyone you recruit and the people they recruit, and so on, okay? But the thing is, the products tend to be overpriced and substandard. And most of the potential profit does not actually come from selling the products to the general public. It comes from products being sold to your downline, the people you recruited, membership fees from your downline, and startup kits that the people in your downline have to buy, and conference fees from your downline. So what I'm saying is, you're not so much making money from the products, you're making money from the people you recruited and the people they recruited. That's why they sometimes call this a pyramid scheme, because you're just trying to get people below you who hand money directly or indirectly back up to you. Now, an example of a pyramid scheme will be something we had back in the days of snail mail. Before the internet, you would get a letter that would have a blessing from St. Anthony or something like that. And then it would say, now take this letter and send it to 50 friends or 100 friends or 10 friends or some amount of friends. And it'll give a list of about 5 people. And it'll say, then send $1 to the person on top of this list. Then change the list where you're at the bottom, and then you can move the list up. So the theory is that you would send this letter, say, to 10 friends, right? And then those friends would send the letter to 10 friends. So that's 100 people. Then those 10 friends would send the letter to 10 friends, and it'd be 1,000 people. And then 10,000, 100,000. So you could get $100,000 in dollar bills sent to you through the mail by the people who are 5 levels beyond you. That's what they call a pyramid scheme, right? Now, if a pyramid scheme promises you money, it could be illegal. But the thing is, what they do in these multi-level marketing organizations, because they have the product, that's kind of a prop, and it just barely makes the whole thing legal. So it's not technically illegal, even though it is a pyramid scheme in disguise. But pyramid schemes don't work. And this is why. Let's say you're in some multi-level marketing thing, and you recruit 6 people below you, right? And those people recruit 6 people. Now you have 36 people. Those people each recruit 6 people. Now you have 216 people, and so on and so on. Once you get down to the 13th level, you would have more people than the entire world population. So it just does not work, not to mention the fact that the vast majority of the people don't want to be in multi-level marketing, are not interested, they're busy with other things, and so it just is not the ideal that they try to sell it to be. So most people who join these multi-level marketing organizations just end up with a bunch of extra product in their house. Because what happens is they say, well, to get the good rate, the bargain rate on buying these products, you have to buy a certain amount every month. And sometimes you're not quite selling that much, but you think, well, I don't want to lose my ability, my right to buy these products at the special rate. So people just keep buying the products and storing them in their house, figuring they'll sell them later once they get more people in their downline, but it doesn't happen. And they just end up with, a cupboard full or a garage full of product. One time I was even talking to some people, and they were telling me about someone in Amway, and I said, well, most people who join Amway, they end up with just a bunch of extra product in their cupboard. They don't go anywhere. And just as we were having this discussion, someone walks in the room and says, oh, Amway? Oh, I know someone who was in Amway. And the others said, well, what happened to them? And they said, well, they just ended up with a bunch of extra products in their cupboard. And the others looked at me thinking I was some sort of a prophet. But I just was in the know of how these sort of things work. In fact, according to the U.S. Federal Trade Commission, 99% of those who participate in multi-level marketing schemes lose money. Now, as I said, Amway is certainly the most well-known of these multi-level marketing, and they have big conventions, and it all seems so exciting. Shaklee is another one. My father was a distributor for Shaklee, and of course, he didn't make money, and we just had a bunch of extra product in our house. My father also was involved in later years in Nu Skin. And one time I went with him to a Nu Skin meeting, and I'll tell you, I felt like I was at a cult because these people were so excited about Nu Skin and the product and this. It was just weird. It was really just weird. It's like Nu Skin was their god. And Herbalife is another well-known one. Mary Kay Cosmetics, Pampered Chef, doTERRA, Isagenix, and the Oriflame. The list goes on and on. OnPassive is a more recent one, and it's kind of unique because it's on the latest trend of AI technology. And it's more internet-based. And they say, well, invest with us, join as a member, and we're working with AI, and AI is just revolutionizing the world, and we're going to make so much money. And, you don't have to be even active in this. You can be passive. In other words, you can just join, and you don't have to do anything else, and the money will roll in because we know AI is going to transform everything. But if we recruit more people, that's wonderful too, and that will multiply your profits. And dreams can come alive. And so they're really trying to tie themselves to the AI changes. And it's more internet-based, as I said, with Zoom meetings instead of conventions. And so some people are getting all excited about OnPassive. But people have seen that this is another pyramid scheme. In fact, it's illegal in Bhutan. Classified as a pyramid scheme. And so people are saying, watch out, it's a scam. Now, why would I include multi-level marketing as a sort of cult? Well, one example is in multi-level marketings, like I said, you have your upline, the people above you, the downline, the people below you. And in many of these MLMs, you are encouraged only to be talking to your upline or your downline. In other words, all the conversations should be your upline trying to get you all excited about the company and the product, or you talking to your recruits trying to get them excited about the company and the product. They don't want people talking too much to just average other people, because if they did and they began to compare notes, they would find that nobody is making money, or very, very few people are making money. So that's one reason. That's what cults do. They try to separate you from anyone who might come against their thing. And on top of that, the products are so esteemed. It's almost like they are gods. Oh, look at this amazing product we have. And usually these products are not all that wonderful. If you look up the best companies that produce new supplements, or the best companies that produce cosmetics and so on, you will not find these MLMs typically on that list. They are very down the list. And then not only is the product a god, but money is a god, because they're talking about you're going to be able to have a new car and a new motorbike, and you're going to be able to quit your job, and you're going to be able to be somebody. You're going to fulfill your dreams, and it just becomes this big god. Like, I can quickly get rich and be self-sustaining with this wonderful company I'm now joining. But what does the Bible say about this? Well, look at Proverbs 13:11. Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but he who gathers little by little increases it. So it's good old-fashioned productivity and education and work that can get us ahead, not these sort of companies. And since these multi-level marketing companies have been around the West longer, a lot more people know that these things are a waste of time, that they're not really going to make you profit. And so what they're doing is they're moving more into Asia and the Middle East and Africa. These third world nations are less familiar with multi-level marketing, to get them all excited about it and hopefully make more money that way.
Be humble, honest, be genuine, be passionate, and money will flow naturally to you.
Number 7, Breatharianism. And this is basically living without food. Sometimes this is also called pranic healing. Here's a definition. Anidia, Latin for fasting, or breatharianism, is the claimed ability for a person to live without consuming food, and in some cases water. It is a deadly pseudoscience, and several adherents of these practices have died from starvation or dehydration. So they say they live off of air, not food. Here are the 4 levels of breatharians, slowly getting yourself off of being addicted to food. And there's a number of prominent ones who've been more well known. There was one named Pralajani, alias Chunwala Mataji, and he was a breatharian yogi who claimed to have survived without food or water for over 70 years. I somehow doubt that. Wiley Brooks was well known as a breatharian. He founded the Breatharian Institute of America. Here he is on a talk show.
First, you must kick the habit of eating. You see what we've done? Yes, that's right.
How did you kick it?
Yes. Well, in my case, I had a real good reason for wanting to do it, and that's the reason, that is the thing that will help anyone.
Go to a bad restaurant every night, that'd do it, wouldn't it?
That helps too, right.
So Wiley Brooks said he had not eaten in 17 years. But he was found sneaking fast food into his hotel room after everyone was asleep. He also was spotted leaving a 7-Eleven with a bag of groceries. And a friend said, he'll eat a dozen donuts at a sitting. I mean, the man loves Colonel Sanders. Well, Wiley Brooks eventually kind of had to admit that he was eating some, so he kind of swung in the opposite direction. And here's a quote from him later on. He said, McDonald's restaurants are living, breathing, vibrating consciousness buildings of love, abundance, creativity, immortality, and well-being. When you walk into a McDonald's, just know you are in a vortex of unconditional love. Then we have Hira Ratan Manek, who said to have gone 411 days without eating. But then he was photographed secretly eating in a restaurant, so I'm not so sure. Ray Moore, another breatharian. Audra Bear, another breatharian who said she didn't eat for 97 days. But she did admit that she would have tea and smoothies and soup. And actually, you can put a lot in a smoothie, so that could actually sustain you. It kind of reminds me of one ministry center I was at, and we would occasionally have a day of fasting, and a friend of mine would go to McDonald's and order a large chocolate shake and say, well, it's a liquid. This is Akahi Ricardo and Camila Castillo, a couple who are into pranic living and breatharianism. And they teach seminars and put on books and videos and all this sort of thing. So they're quite well known. But here's a quote from them. We don't have a formula as to how much we eat and when. We do it when we want to, and when we don't want to, we don't. You have probably felt something similar in your life. It's natural for us to feel this freedom. So there's an admission there that's not just not eating at all ever, you know. Jasmuheen, otherwise known as Ellen Grieve, another popular breatharian. In the past, she has described her diet as including tea with honey and soya milk, chocolate, crisps, soup, and the odd piece of fruit. Reporters visiting her home were bewildered to find her fridge well-stocked with vegetarian food, which she said belongs to her partner, Jeff Ferguson. And a British journalist accompanying Jasmuheen to her check-in desk at Heathrow one December was astonished when the British Airways clerk asked her to confirm that she'd ordered an in-flight vegetarian meal. And no, she replied, well, yes, okay, I did, but I won't be eating it. The show 60 Minutes, when covering breatharianism at Jasmuheen's agreement, monitored her, and after 4 days of being monitored around the clock, while following her non-eating regime, Jasmuheen was declared dangerously dehydrated, her pulse increased, and she lost 6 kilos, with the experiment terminated by medical professionals for safety reasons. In 1999, Australian-born Verity Lynn, 49, was found dead in the Scottish Highlands after attempting a 21-day fast. She was refusing to eat or drink, in the belief it would spiritually cleanse her body and recharge her both physically and mentally. Her diary confirmed that she intended following a 21-day program of fasting called Breatharianism. So Breatharianism, the idea that you can just go without food and live off of sun and air, is nonsense. But there is something to fasting, of course. And that's a biblical thing too. If you want to read a good book about fasting, you can read one by Paul Bragg. He was quite enthusiastic about fasting. And Jesus fasted. In Matthew 4, 1 to 2, then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. After fasting 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. Now remember, when he doesn't say he was thirsty. So that does not say that Jesus fasted water. You can only survive typically about 3 days without water. But if you fast, after 40 days, you begin to starve. In other words, your body begins eating itself. Jesus fasted 40 days. It's a good example. So if you want to fast 40 days, go for it. But beyond that, it can lead to big problems. And even if you're not used to fasting, of course, if you're fasting 40 days, you want to kind of watch yourself as well. Fasting can have good health benefits, but breatharianism is a lot of nonsense. So that's 7 secular cults. And in general, when you run across these sort of things, yield to common sense, have your thinking cap on, follow God's leading. The Holy Spirit can lead us into all truth. Question everything. And remember, let the Bible be your guide. The Bible is really our compass to lead us in the right direction, even when society is going the opposite way. So thank you for joining in this teaching on 7 Western secular cults.